All right, I'm in the garden today. I'm going to work on some new raised beds for our high tunnel there, and I'll show you guys that process on the next video or so, but I wanted to bring this video to your attention. A lot of people know that we live like the Amish, my wife and I. We live in a log cabin that we built 14 years ago. We left the city, and it happened to be, just by happenstance, we didn't even know it, that we moved kind of close to an Amish community, and we've been here for 14 years, it's our 15th year. And for 7 of those years, when I first got here, I was fully engaged in their culture. Obviously I'm dressed like them. We lived with them. We ate with them. We basically became them without joining the Amish. So we have a lot of insight on the Amish lifestyle, and we have the ability to answer a lot of questions. And one of the questions that I get lately is, how did the Amish handle the Plandemic? Like, what did they do? And I'm going to share with you guys, these are some news stories. This one's from the AP, and we know that they're left-leaning, okay? So I'm going to read you the story, and then I'm going to show you some video clips, and I'm going to try to explain to you guys their philosophy, which is they put faith in God, like Christians should do, and they basically said no to the vaccine. And then we'll see a video clip by one of their spokespersons, so don't go anywhere. Amish put faith in God's will and herd immunity over the vaccine. When healthcare leaders in the heart of Pennsylvania Dutch country began laying out the strategy to distribute the COVID-19 vaccines, they knew it would be a tough sell with the Amish, who tend to weary from preventative shots and government intervention. Early on, they posted flyers at farmer supply stores and at auctions where the Amish sell handmade furniture and quilts. They sought advice from members of the deeply religious and conservative sect who told them not to be pushy, and they asked 3 newspapers widely read by the Amish to publish ads promoting the vaccine, and 2 of those newspapers actually refused to run ads about the vaccine. By May, 2 rural vaccination clinics had opened up at a fire station and social services center, both familiar places to the Amish in Lancaster County. During the first 6 weeks, 400 people showed up, only 12 were Amish. The vaccine drive is lagging far behind in many Amish communities across the U.S. following the wave of virus outbreaks that swept through their churches and homes during the past year, which it was just a flu bug going through just like normal, so they weren't alarmed. In Ohio's Holmes County, home to the nation's largest concentration of Amish, just 14% of the county's overall population was fully vaccinated. So not only did the Amish in the conservative town of Holmes in Ohio said no thank you, but a large portion of the residents as well. While their religious beliefs don't forbid them to get vaccines, the Amish are generally less likely to be vaccinated for preventable diseases such as measles and whooping cough. Though the vaccine acceptance varies by church district, the Amish often rely on family tradition and advice from church leaders, and a core part of the Christian faith is accepting God's will in times of illness and death. The true Christians are still on the earth. If you are a Christian, please evaluate your belief system. If you took that stuff, if you listen to the propaganda, okay? If you bend your free will to that side of injection, right? Please evaluate your beliefs. This is so encouraging. The story goes on, and I'll list it in the comment section below. These stories were coming out during the COVID, right? So this is real life, under the pressure, everyone telling them, and they're not listening, and they shut down. Now, I know in our community, the first little bit, maybe month or so, the schools, they shut the school down. They just wanted to see the elders were talking. They were talking and praying, and they were doing their thing. They ultimately came back and said, we're going to open up the schools. We're full on going back to business as usual. And also, there's no jabbing going on. No one's getting this stuff. And, I'm just going to throw this in here as a caveat. But if you go look at autism and the Amish, you're going to start connecting some dots, because they do not vaccinate, okay? Dr. Tenpenny is on record saying the vaccines, all of them, are just designed to make you sick. okay? And we could talk about the polio stuff. I'm all open for debates and conversations about it, all right? I'm not a closed trap. I like all information, and you should as well. So that was the first story, basically from the AP, and they were letting you guys know that they were trying to push this stuff on the Amish, but the Amish really weren't going for it. They put their trust in God, and they put their faith on full display for the world to see. There's no Amish over here in my neighborhood, or that I've heard of, and I'm pretty in tune with them, falling over, died suddenly out in the yard. There's no one walking their dog and dying. There's no one out in the fields and just flopping over. There's no myocarditis, there's no heart inflammations, there's no cancer on full-blown turbo cancer, there's no deficient white blood cells, and all the things connected to the jab, all right? Now, I remember seeing this back in the day, and I worked really hard to try to find this for you guys. And what I'm going to show you next, so the Amish, all the Amish communities, they actually have representatives that go to Washington, D.C., and they lobby on their behalf. They're basically lobbyists for the Amish. Now, most of them are ex-Amish, or they have some type of really close connection with the Amish. And they went to Washington, D.C., and they told Congress to their face that the Amish will not be getting vaccinated. And here's the clip.
Superficial. They don't usually drive, use electricity, or have TVs. And during the COVID-19 outbreak, they became subjects in a massive social and medical experiment.
So it's safe to say there was a whole different approach here in this community when coronavirus broke out than many other places.
Absolutely.
Calvin Lapp is Amish Mennonite.
There's three things the Amish don't like, and that's government. They won't get involved in government. They don't like the public education system. They won't send their children to education, and they also don't like the health system. They rip us off. Those are three things that we feel like we're fighting against all the time. Well, those three things are all part of what COVID is.
After a short shutdown last year, the Amish chose a unique path that led to COVID-19 tearing through at warp speed. It began with an important religious holiday in May.
When they take communion, they dump their wine into a cup, and they take turns to drink out of that cup. So you go the whole way down the line, and everybody drinks out of that cup. So if one person has coronavirus, the rest of the church is going to get coronavirus. First time they went back to church, everybody got coronavirus.
Lapp says they weren't denying coronavirus, they were facing it head on.
It's a worse thing to quit working than dying. But to shut down and say that we can't go to church, we can't get together with family, we can't see our old people in the hospital, we got to quit working. You're working, it's going completely against everything that we believe. And you're changing our culture completely to try to act like they wanted us to act the last year. And we're not going to do it.
Steve Nolt is a scholar on Amish and Mennonite culture and Mennonite himself. He's studying Amish news publications to analyze community-wide trends. So meant avoiding hospitals.
I know of some cases in which Amish people refused to go to the hospital, even when they were very sick, because if they went there, they wouldn't be able to have visitors. And it was more important to be sick, even very sick, at home, and have the ability to have some people around you than to go to the hospital and be isolated.
Then last March, remarkable news. The Lancaster County Amish were reported to be the first community to achieve herd immunity, meaning a large part of the population had been infected with COVID-19 and become immune. Some outsiders are skeptical, and solid proof is hard to come by.
Even those who believed that they had COVID tended not to get tested. Their approach tended to be, I'm sick, I know I'm sick, I don't have to have someone else tell me I'm sick. Or a concern that if they got a positive test, they would then be asked to really dramatically limit what they were doing in a way that might be uncomfortable for them. So we don't have that testing number.
We didn't want the numbers to go up because then they would shut things more. What's the advantage of getting a test?
One thing's clear, there's no evidence of any more deaths among the Amish than in places that shut down tight. Some claim there were fewer here. That's without masking, staying at home, or another important measure.
Did most of the community, at least the adults, get the COVID-19 vaccine?
Again, we don't have data on that, but I think it's pretty clear that that in percentage terms, relatively few did.
Well, we're glad all the English people got their COVID vaccines. That's great, because now we don't have to wear a mask. We can do what we want. So good for you. Thank you. We appreciate it. No, we're not getting vaccines. Of course not. We all got the COVID. So why would you get a vaccine?
Oh, from the mouth of babes. They basically told them that we're not going to do it, and nothing you're going to say is going to make us do it. Unfortunately, all of America rolled over, and now we're going to really be seeing some devastating stuff over these next couple of years. The reason why we grow 90% plus of our own food is because now they're trying to put vaccinations, they're trying to put the mRNA gene therapy in your food, in your water, in your meat, in your body, and then you have to think to yourself, why? I did a video a couple days ago about population control. A lot of these people that you're listening to that are running the show are into eugenics, and they basically think that they're really smart and you're a Neanderthal and you're sucking up all the resources, and they don't like it. So they're going to try to kill you off to protect the resources for their family, right? Congress was exempt from taking the jab. The Postal Service was exempt from taking the jab. I was trying to figure it out. Why are they exempt from taking the jab? Why are they exempt from taking the jab? And then I thought, man, their union representative must be really good union rep. And I was like, that's probably it, man. You got a good union rep who kept you guys off the jab. But now it makes perfect sense. See, most of the postal workers, they have relationships with the people that they carry the mail for. Your died suddenly folks are just out walking the dog, or just walking, and they're just having these massive heart attacks, or they're just dying, just right there, boom. And that is why they exempted the postal workers. Because if you guys were seeing postal workers die in between doors on a massive scale, your alarm bells would be off the chain. But with a crazy guy who lives in a log cabin off-grid, grows 90% of his food and poops in buckets, you're probably going to dismiss me as a crazy guy. But now it all makes perfect sense, all right? Give me a thumbs up on this video, because my people perish from a lack of knowledge. Let me know if you've heard this information before, and share this video. We have to be prepared for round 2, y'all. This is not going away, all right? Enjoy this clip on the way out.
People like myself and Tony Fauci are saying 18 months. If everything went perfectly, we could do slightly better than that. But there will be a trade-off. We'll have less safety testing than we typically would have. And so governments will have to decide, do they indemnify the companies and really say, let's go out with this when we just don't have the time to do what we normally do. You can run into safety issues. So we're going to have to take something that usually takes 5 or 6 years and get it done in 18 months. If you want to wait and see if a side effect shows up 2 years later, that takes 2 years.
It's that smirk, though.